She sent $5 to the wrong address, and a Cowboy Billionaire gave $15,000 in return. Lena Reyes lived on Deck 47 of the old orbital colony called St. Meridian. The name sounded beautiful, but the place itself was tired. Its walls were faded. Its lights flickered at night. The air always carried the smell of metal, dust, and recycled water. Most people there worked long hours and counted every credit twice before spending it once. Lena was one of those people. She was 24, thin from stress, quick with her hands, and always walking fast, as if moving slowly would let life catch up with her. Every morning, she woke before station dawn, tied her dark hair back, and went to work in repair bays. She fixed broken home heaters, food processors, and old wall panels that should have been replaced years ago. The colony never had enough money for new things, so people like Lena kept the old things alive. That was what she did with machines. That was also what she tried to do with her family. Her little brother, Tomas, had been sick for almost 2 weeks. It was not the kind of sickness that looked dramatic from the outside. He did not cough blood. He did not faint in the hallway. He just grew weaker each day. His fever came and went. His chest hurt when he breathed too hard. His smile, once easy and bright, now came slowly. The clinic on Deck 12 had medicine that could help him. Not perfect medicine. Not the best kind. But it was enough, and enough was all Lena could ask for. The problem was the price. By the end of the week, after rent, food packs, and power charges, she had only 5 credits left in her account. 5. It was such a small amount that rich people would not even notice it. On colonies like St. Meridian, though, 5 credits could still matter. 5 credits could buy a meal. 5 credits could recharge a heat unit for 2 nights. 5 credits could be the small difference between trying and giving up. Lena had no plans to give up. That evening, she sat beside Tomas's bed in their small room. The room had 2 bunks, 1 fold-out table, 1 cracked storage drawer, and 1 tiny screen fixed to the wall. Rain from old Earth played on the screen in silent blue light. Tomas liked that video. He had never seen real rain, but he said it looked soft. "You should sleep," Tomas said quietly. Lena looked up from her wrist pad and forced a smile. "You should take your own advice. I'm not the one staring at numbers like they insulted me." "They did insult me," she said, very personally. That made him smile a little, and Lena felt relief move through her chest. Even a small smile was a good sign. "I'll get the medicine," she said. "With 5 credits? With my amazing talent and unstoppable charm." He looked at her with tired eyes. "That has never worked before. It might be the day." He laughed once, softly, then turned on a blanket. "Okay." Lena waited until his breathing became steadier. Then she stood, moved to the little table, and opened her payment app again. The clinic had agreed to hold 1 dose if she sent a deposit before midnight station time. Not the full cost. Just 5 credits to reserve it. The nurse had written the payment address in a message and warned her that the supply shuttle came only once every 6 days. If Lena missed this window, Tomas might have to wait. And waiting was the one thing his body was not doing well. Lena read the payment string again. It was long, full of letters, numbers, and symbols. Colony payment IDs were always ugly things, as if the system itself wanted to test human patience. She typed carefully. Then she checked it once. Then twice. On the screen, the old station lights flickered again. Her room dimmed for a second, then brightened. Tomas stirred in his sleep. Lena turned to look at him, waited, then looked back at the wrist pad. Her heart was beating too fast. Her hands felt cold. "Come on," she whispered to herself. "Just this one thing." She pressed send. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then the screen flashed green. Transaction complete. Lena let out a breath she had been holding. Good. But habit made her check the address one more time. Her eyes moved from the nurse's message to the sent receipt. Once. Twice. Then her stomach dropped so suddenly that she grabbed the edge of the table. 1 character was wrong. Only 1. But 1 was enough. "No," she whispered. She looked again, hoping her tired eyes had played a trick on her. They had not. The money had not gone to the clinic. It had gone somewhere else. Somewhere unknown. The payment system showed only a destination code and a routing notice. No name, no local registry, no colony mark. Instead, there was a line she had never seen before. External Frontier transfer confirmed. Lena stared at it. External Frontier? That was not Deck 12. That was not even this station. That was not anywhere near Earth's orbit. Frontier routes connected to outer trade lanes, deep space settlements, and places most common workers only heard about in news reports. Her 5 credits had gone very, very far away. For a full minute, she could not move. Then she opened support options. A red warning appeared. Completed transfers cannot be reversed without recipient approval. Of course, she muttered. She tried the helpline. Automated response. She tried the clinic message. No answer. She checked the time. 11:26. Less than 35 minutes left. Lena put both hands over her face and forced herself not to cry. Crying took energy. Panic took time. She needed something useful. Think. She copied the destination code and opened a public route search. Most of the address was hidden for privacy, but one small tag appeared on the screen. Registered sector, Outer Belt/Independent Trade Network. She had never even met anyone from the Outer Belt. Say Meridian sat close enough to old Earth systems to feel forgotten, but not remote enough to feel adventurous. The Outer Belt was something else. It was distant, wild, expensive, the kind of place where mining kings, private traders, and strange million-credit deals existed. A terrible, hopeless laugh almost escaped her. "So that's it," she whispered. "My last 5 credits are visiting rich space." She looked at Tomas again. His face was pale in the low light. Lena straightened. No, not finished. If the system needed recipient approval, then she would contact the recipient. She opened a dispute request form. It asked for reason. She typed, "Wrong address. Please return." It was for medicine. Please. Then it asked if she wanted to attach a personal note. Lena hesitated. Pride told her not to explain too much. But pride did not lower fevers. Pride did not hold medicine for sick boys. So she typed again, slower this time. "I am sorry. I made a mistake. This was the last money I had tonight. My little brother is sick, and I needed to send this deposit for his medicine. If you can return it, I will be grateful. If you cannot, I understand." She read it and hated how small it made her feel. Then she added one more line. "Please don't let him lose his place because of my mistake." She pressed send. The request disappeared into the same dark network that had taken her credits. That was all she could do. Lena sat in silence, listening to the station breathe through its walls. Pipes clicked. A vent hummed. Somewhere far down the corridor, a baby cried, then stopped. At 11:43, her wrist pad chimed. Her whole body snapped awake. She opened the message at once. But it was from the clinic. Reservation window expired. Deposit not received. Supply may be limited on next cycle. Lena closed her eyes. For a moment, she felt the full weight of the station pressing down on her. The cheap ceiling, the old air, the endless feeling that one tiny mistake could become a mountain. She wanted to be angry at the system, at the broken colony, at the rich people who would never understand how 5 credits could ruin a night. Instead, she was just tired, very tired. She stood, moved to Tomas's bed, and sat carefully near his feet. He woke a little. "Did you get it?" Lena looked at him, and for 1 second she almost lied. Then she reached out and brushed his hair back. "Not tonight." He studied her face. He was younger, but not foolish. "What happened?" "I made a stupid mistake." "Lena." "It's okay," she said quickly, though it was not. "I'll fix it tomorrow." He was quiet for a moment. "You always say that." "Because I usually do." Usually. That word stayed between them. Tomas gave a weak nod and closed his eyes again. "You will." Lena did not answer. She stayed there until he slept again. Then she returned to the table and stared at the wall screen without seeing it. Earth rain fell forever across blue hills and green fields that no one on St. Meridian had touched in generations. Midnight passed, then half past. She should have slept. She had worked in 5 hours. But her mind would not let go. Who had received the transfer? Would they ignore it? Would they even notice 5 credits? Would someone living out beyond the mapped routes laugh at her message and forget it in the next second? At 0:47 station time, her wrist pad lit up again. This time the sound was different. Not the soft tone of a local message. Not the dry click of colony billing. This chime was low and clear, the kind used for verified network responses. Lena froze before touching it. The screen displayed a secure notification. External recipient has opened your request. Her heart began to pound. Below it, another line appeared a second later. Message received. And then, after a pause that felt endless, recipient reviewing transfer. Lena swallowed hard and stared at the words as if they might vanish. Somewhere impossibly far away, a stranger had seen her message. Somewhere in the dark between stars, the person on the other side of that wrong address had stopped long enough to read about a sick boy on a broken colony. Lena did not know who they were. She did not know if they were kind. She did not know if she should feel hope or fear. But for the first time that night, the silence around her felt different. Not empty. Waiting. Far beyond St. Meridian. Beyond Earth's fading orbit. Beyond the safe routes that common workers ever dreamed of traveling, a private vessel drifted above a frontier world under a red-gold sky. Inside, in a room lined with old wood, polished metal, and windows wide enough to show half the stars in the sector, a man sat alone at a long table. He was broad-shouldered, calm, dressed in simple dark clothes with the easy confidence of someone who never needed to prove he had power. On the screen before him was Lena's message. 5 credits. A sick brother. A mistake. The man read the note once, then again. His expression did not change much, but something in his eyes did. He leaned back in his chair. "Interesting," he said softly. An artificial voice answered from the room ceiling. "Would you like the transfer declined, sir?" The man kept looking at the screen. "No," he said. His voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of decision with no room for doubt. "Find her." The AI paused. Then it replied, in a tone just slightly sharper than before. "Sir, that address belongs to a classified human fringe zone." The man's gaze stayed on the message, and slowly, very slowly, he smiled. The man's name was Darian Cole. Across the outer belt, his name carried weight. In some places, it was spoken with respect. In others, with fear. And in a few quiet corners of alien-controlled space, it was spoken like a warning. But here, inside his private vessel, he looked like nothing special. He leaned back in his chair, boots resting lightly on the edge of the long table, eyes still fixed on the small message from a distant colony girl. 5 credits. It was nothing, less than nothing. His system handled transfers larger than that every second. Entire cargo routes, mining rights, fleet payments, numbers that would make Lena dizzy just hearing them. And yet this one had stopped him. "Run a full trace," Darian said. The AI responded at once. "Tracing origin point. St. Meridian orbital colony. Lower-tier human settlement. Status. Underfunded. Partially abandoned by central authority." Darian gave a small nod. That part was not surprising. "Subject identity?" he asked. "Lena Reyes. Age 24. Occupation, maintenance technician. Living record shows high work hours, low income stability. No criminal flags." The screen shifted. A file opened. Images appeared. Lena, walking through a narrow station hallway. Lena, fixing a broken panel. Lena, standing in a long food line. And then, Lena sitting beside a small bed. A boy lay there, pale, weak. Darian's eyes stayed on that image longer than the others. "Tomas Reyes," the AI continued. "Age 14. Medical condition, untreated respiratory infection. Clinic recommendation, immediate medication required." Silence filled the room. Darian slowly lowered his boots from the table and leaned forward. "How long?" he asked. "Without treatment, estimated decline within 48 to 72 hours. Darian exhaled quietly. The stars outside his window drifted slowly, endless and cold. Out there, entire systems rose and fell without anyone noticing. Lives were numbers. Losses were statistics. But sometimes one small thing cut through all of it. 5 credits. He tapped the table once with his fingers. Send 15,000, he said. The AI paused. Confirming, it replied. You wish to transfer 15,000 credits to Lena Reyes? Yes. That amount exceeds the original transaction by 3,000 times. I notice. Do you require justification tagging for the transfer logs? Darian leaned back again, eyes still on the image of the boy. No. Another short pause. Transfer processing, the AI said. A soft tone followed. Transaction complete. Somewhere far away, Lena Reyes' account had just changed forever. Darian closed the file, but he did not forget it. Hours later, in the lower levels of St. Meridian, Lena was still awake. She had tried to sleep. She had even closed her eyes and turned away from the screen, but her mind would not rest. Every few minutes, she checked her wrist pad again. No response. No update. Nothing. At some point, exhaustion pulled her down into a light, uneasy sleep. She dreamed of numbers, long strings of them, shifting and breaking apart. Every time she tried to fix one, it slipped away again. Then, a sharp chime cut through the silence. Lena's eyes snapped open. For a second, she did not know where she was. Then the room came back. The dim lights, the small bed, Tomas breathing quietly. The chime came again. Her wrist pad. Her hands moved before her thoughts caught up. She grabbed it and opened the screen. At first, she did not understand what she was seeing. The numbers were wrong. They had to be wrong. Her account balance showed more digits than it should. Much more. She blinked, closed the app, opened it again. The number stayed. 15,005 credits. Her breath caught in her throat. No, she whispered. Her eyes moved down. A new message from the same unknown external address. Her fingers shook as she opened it. The message was short. You dropped something. Thought I'd return it with interest. Lena stared at the words. For a long moment, her brain refused to accept them. 15,000 credits? No one did that. No one sent that kind of money to a stranger. This had to be a mistake. Another mistake. Her heart began to race again, but this time in a different way. What is this? She whispered. She checked the transaction details. Verified. Confirmed. Cleared through high-level channels she did not even recognize. This was not fake. This was not a glitch. This was real. Her legs felt weak. She sat down slowly on the edge of Tomas's bed. The boy stirred a little but did not wake. Lena looked at him, then back at the screen. 15,000 credits. That could pay for his treatment. Not just the basic medicine, the best version. Full care, tests, recovery time. It could pay rent for months. It could fix everything. Or it could ruin everything. What if it's stolen? She whispered. What they want it back? What if... She stopped. Her eyes returned to the message. It did not feel like a trap. It felt simple. Too simple. But simple things were dangerous in a place like St. Meridian. She opened a reply window, then stopped again. What did she even say? Thank you? That felt too small. Who are you? Too direct. I can't accept this. That felt like a lie. Her brother needed help. That was the truth. Lena closed her eyes for a moment, then typed slowly. I think you sent too much. I only lost 5 credits. I can return the rest. She read it twice, then sent it. The message disappeared into the network. Now she waited again. But this time, the waiting felt heavier. Because now everything had changed. Far across the galaxy, Darian Cole stood near the wide glass of his observation window. Below him, the frontier world turned slowly, its deserts glowing under a distant sun. Behind him, the AI spoke. Reply received. Darian did not turn. Read it. The message appeared in the air beside him. He read it once. Then again, a quiet sound escaped him. Not quite a laugh. Not quite surprise. She wants to return it, he said. Yes, the AI replied. Unusual behavior. Most subjects in her position would not question the transfer. Darian folded his arms. Most people don't get here by being careful, he said. He looked back out at the stars. For a moment, his expression changed, just slightly. Memory. Long ago, before the ships, before the power, before the name. He had been somewhere like that, counting small numbers, making careful choices, knowing that one mistake could cost everything. He pushed the thought away. Send reply. He said, "What message?" Darian thought for a second. Then he spoke, calm and simple. "Keep it." The AI paused. "Message too brief. Would you like to add clarification?" "No." Sending. The message vanished. Darian turned back to the window. But the moment did not end there, because outside his control system, other eyes had already noticed. In a distant trade hub, far from both Earth and St. Meridian, a different system processed the same transfer. Large transfers always left traces, and this one had come from Darian Cole. That alone made it important. A group of alien analysts watched the data stream in silence. The species was tall, thin, with smooth gray skin and long fingers that moved quickly across glowing panels. One of them spoke. Source confirmed. Darian Cole. Another responded. Destination, unknown human colony. Low value target. Then why this amount? Silence. Then possibility, hidden asset. Possibility, signal. Possibility, weakness. That word stayed in the air. Weakness. If someone like Darian Cole had a weakness, that was valuable, very valuable. Mark the location. The lead analyst said, "Prepare observation units and inform the dead enforcers operating in that region." The others moved quickly. Orders were sent, routes calculated, because in the wider galaxy, nothing stayed unnoticed for long, especially not kindness from a powerful man. Back on St. Meridian, Lena stared at her wrist pad again. Another message had arrived. Her heart jumped. She opened it at once. Just 2 words. "Keep it." That was all. No explanation. No condition. No warning. Just keep it. Lena sat in silence. Her thoughts moved fast. Too fast. This was real. This was happening. And she had a choice to make. She looked at Tomas again. His breathing was still uneven. His face still pale. Whatever this was, mistake, miracle, or something in between, it did not change one thing. He needed help. Now, Lena stood up. Her fear did not disappear, but something else pushed through it. Decision. She grabbed her jacket, slipped on her worn boots, and moved toward the door. The station lights flickered again as she stepped into the hallway. For the first time in days, she was not walking with uncertainty. She was running with purpose. Behind her, the small room stayed quiet. And far above, beyond the station, beyond Earth, beyond everything she knew, a man watched the stars and did not yet realize that a small act of kindness had just started something much bigger than either of them. Lena ran through the narrow corridors of St. Meridian like the station itself was chasing her. Her boots hit the metal floor in quick, uneven steps. People turned to look at her as she passed, but she did not slow down. Her breath came fast, her heart beating hard, her mind filled with one clear goal. The clinic. For the first time in days, she had enough, more than enough. The number still felt unreal in her head. 15,000 credits. It did not belong to her world. It did not belong to people like her. And yet, it was sitting in her account, waiting to be used, waiting to save her brother. She reached the lift and slammed her hand against the control panel. "Deck 12, she said quickly. The lift doors closed with a soft hiss, then began to move. Lena leaned against the wall and tried to breathe slower. Her hands were still shaking. What if it disappears? What if it's taken back? What if someone stops her? The thoughts came one after another. She forced them away. No, move first. Think later. The lift stopped. The doors opened. Deck 12 was brighter than the lower levels, but it still carried the same tired feeling. The clinic stood at the end of the hall, its doors open, soft white light spilling out. Lena ran inside. The nurse behind the counter looked up in surprise. "We're closing." "I have the credits," Lena said, almost out of breath. "Full treatment, not just a deposit. Everything." The nurse blinked. "Everything." "Yes." There was a pause. Then the nurse straightened, her expression changing from tired to focused. "Bring him now." We'll prepare a room. Lena nodded once and turned back toward the door. This time, when she ran, it felt different, not desperate, hopeful. Within an hour, Tomas was in the clinic. Machines surrounded his bed. Clean air flowed through quiet vents. Soft lights replaced the dim glow of their old room. Doctors moved quickly but calmly. They checked his breathing, ran scans, and started treatment. Lena stood nearby, watching every movement. "Will he be okay?" she asked. One of the doctors looked at her. "You brought him in time." Lena let out a breath she did not know she was holding. Time. That was all she had been trying to buy. Now she had it. She moved closer to the bed and gently held Tomas's hand. His eyes opened slowly. "Lena," he said weakly. "I'm here," she said softly. "This place looks expensive. It is." He frowned a little. "We can't afford." "We can now." He looked confused, but too tired to ask more. His eyes closed again as the medicine began to work. Lena stayed there, sitting quietly beside him. For the first time in days, she allowed herself to relax. But far beyond the small clinic room, the galaxy was already moving. Darian Cole stood in the command deck of his ship. The room was wide and open, filled with soft lights and floating displays. Outside, space stretched endlessly in every direction. "Update," he said. The AI responded instantly. "Subject Lena Reyes has used the transferred credits. Medical treatment in progress. Probability of brother's recovery high." Darian gave a small nod. "Good." He turned away, ready to move on, but the AI continued. "Additional notice," it said. Darian paused. "Multiple external systems have flagged the transaction." He frowned slightly. "Explain." "The transfer has been observed by outer belt trade monitors and several non-human economic networks." Darian's expression did not change much, but his eyes sharpened. "And some are analyzing the target location." "Why?" "Possible interpretations include hidden asset, strategic interest, or personal weakness." The last word hung in the air. Weakness. Darian let out a quiet breath. Of course, in the wider galaxy, power was never allowed to look soft. Kindness from someone like him was not seen as kindness. It was seen as a mistake, or an opening. "Who's moving?" he asked. "Unconfirmed, but signals suggest activity from regional dead enforcers operating near St. Meridian." Darian's jaw tightened slightly. Dead enforcers. They were not official armies. They were not even respected groups. They were something worse. Private forces that collected unpaid debts, controlled poor colonies, and made sure no one escaped their system. St. Meridian was exactly the kind of place they liked. And now, that place had been marked. Because of him. Darian walked slowly toward the main display. The image of St. Meridian appeared, small and fragile in the dark. "All because of 5 credits," he said quietly. The AI did not respond. For a moment, Darian said nothing. Then his voice changed. Colder, sharper. "Prepare the fleet," he said. The AI paused. "Confirming. You wish to deploy a fleet for a lower-tier human colony." "Yes." "Estimated response may escalate regional tensions." Darian's eyes stayed on the image. "They already have," he said. "Jump coordinates?" He gave them without hesitation. "Set course." Back on St. Meridian, Lena stepped out of the clinic room. Tomas was sleeping peacefully. The machines around him showed steady readings. For the first time in days, his breathing sounded normal. Lena leaned against the wall in the hallway and closed her eyes. Relief washed over her, but it did not last long, because something else had changed. The station felt tense. People moved faster. Voices were lower. Small groups stood together, whispering. Lena noticed a man speaking urgently with a security officer. Not normal traffic. The man was saying, "They're not even hiding it." "What kind of ships?" the officer asked. "Not ours." Lena's stomach tightened. She stepped closer. "What's happening?" The officer looked at her. "Go back inside. Stay near the clinic." "That doesn't answer my question." "It's not supposed to." Lena crossed her arms. "I live here. I deserve to know." The man beside the officer spoke this time. Unknown ships have entered the outer range. How many? Lena asked. The man hesitated. Enough. A cold feeling moved through her chest. Are they attacking? Not yet. That word again. Not yet. Lena looked toward the ceiling, as if she could see through it into space. Something was coming. She could feel it, far above the station. Dark shapes moved through the stars. Ships, long, sharp, and silent. They did not belong to Earth. They did not belong to any friendly trade route. These were enforcement vessels. Cold, efficient, hunters. Inside one of them, a tall alien figure stood before a wide display. Its long fingers tapped lightly against the surface as it studied the image of St. Meridian. Target confirmed. It said. Another voice answered. Minimal defenses. Low resistance expected. Reason for interest? A third asked. Financial anomaly connected to high-value individual. Darian Cole? Yes. Silence. Then, capture leverage. Or destroy it. The leader tilted its head slightly. We will decide after contact. The ships moved closer. 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 On St. Meridian. Alarms suddenly echoed through the station. Lena flinched as the sound filled the air. Attention! A mechanical voice said. Unidentified vessels approaching. All non-essential personnel. Remain in secured areas. The hallway filled with movement. People rushed toward safe zones. Doors sealed. Lights shifted to emergency mode. Lena's heart pounded again. Tomas. She turned and ran back into the clinic room. He was still asleep. She moved to his side and grabbed his hand. I'm here, she whispered, even though he could not hear her. The room lights dimmed. The station shook slightly. Something had entered orbit. Lena looked toward the ceiling again. This time, she felt it clearly. Fear. Real fear. Whatever was out there, it was not here to help. Far away, in the dark between stars, another group of ships moved. Different design. Different presence. Heavier. Stronger. They did not hide. They did not slow down. At the front of the formation, Darian Cole stood on the command deck, hand behind his back, eyes forward. Status, he said. Approaching St. Meridian, the AI replied. Enemy vessels already in position. Darian gave a small nod. Open channel, he said. To who? Everyone. The system activated. Across the station, across the alien ships, across every listening device in range. A signal went out. Clear. Strong. Human. Darian stepped forward slightly. His voice was calm. Controlled. But it carried something powerful beneath it. This is Darian Cole, he said. Every system went silent. Every ship paused. Every ear listened. Darian's eyes remained fixed on the stars ahead. And then he spoke again. This territory is now under human protection. The word spread through space like a shockwave, and for the first time, the galaxy hesitated. The moment Darian Cole's voice spread across space, everything changed. Above St. Meridian, silence fell. Not natural silence. Not peace. But the kind of silence that comes right before something breaks. Inside the alien command ship, the tall gray leader stood still, its long fingers frozen above the controls. Human protection? One of the others repeated. That system is not registered under human authority. Another said. The leader's eyes narrowed slightly. Darian Cole, it said slowly, so the rumors are true. On the display, new signals appeared. More ships. Many more. They were not sleek like the alien vessels. They were not smooth or elegant. They looked heavy, built with purpose, not beauty. Edges sharp, hulls layered, engines burning bright with raw power. Human ships. And they were not backing down. Inside St. Meridian, Lena stood in the clinic room, holding Tomas's hand tightly. The alarms were still echoing through the station, but something had shifted. People were no longer just afraid. They were confused. The broadcast had reached everyone. This territory is now under human protection. No one on St. Meridian had ever heard those words before. Human protection? From who? From what? Lena looked toward the small window in the clinic room. She could not see space clearly, but distant flashes of light reflected faintly through the glass. Something was happening out there. Something big. She looked back at Tomas. "Stay with me," she whispered. Not to him, to herself. In space, the alien ships moved first. Fast. Precise. They spread out, forming attack positions around the colony. "Engage!" The alien leader ordered. Energy beams fired across the dark. But they did not hit the station. They hit something else. Darian's fleet. The human ships did not scatter. They did not retreat. They moved forward, straight into the attack. On Darian's command deck, the AI spoke quickly. Incoming fire detected. Darian did not move. "Hold formation," he said. The first wave of alien attacks struck the human ships. Explosions lit up space. But when the light faded, the human ships were still there. Damaged? Yes. Destroyed? No. Their shields flickered, but their hulls held. The alien ships paused. Confusion spread through their formation. "Why are they not retreating?" one of them asked. The leader's voice was low. "Because they're not like us." Darian stepped forward. "Return fire," he said. The human fleet answered, not with clean, perfect beams, but with force. Heavy cannons fired. Missiles launched. The attacks were not elegant. They were overwhelming. One alien ship took a direct hit. Its shield shattered instantly. The hull cracked. Then, gone. The explosion burned bright against the darkness. Inside the alien command ship, silence fell again. "Destroyed it in one strike." One voice said, "Impossible." "No," the leader replied quietly. "Not impossible. Human." Back on St. Meridian, the station shook. Lena grabbed the edge of bed as the floor trembled beneath her. "What was that?" she whispered. The lights flickered again, then stabilized. From the hallway, voices rose. "They're fighting." "Who's fighting?" "I don't know." Lena felt her heart racing. Fighting. Above them. For them. She looked at her wrist pad. The message from the unknown sender was still there. Keep it. Her mind connected the pieces. Darian Cole. The name she had seen in rumors. The name tied to power. The name tied to war. Her voice came out softly. "You." In space, the battle grew worse. The alien fleet tried to regroup, tried to adapt, but the human ships did not follow predictable patterns. They moved in ways that broke rules. Ships split apart, then came back together. Some took damage just to get closer. Some ignored perfect defensive positions just to strike harder. It was messy. It was risky. It was effective. Darian watched everything. "Calm. Focused. Target their command ship," he said. Coordinates locked. Weapons aligned. Fire. A concentrated strike hit the alien leader's vessel. The shields held. For a second, then cracked. Warning alarms filled the alien command deck. Shields failing. Structural damage increasing. The leader gripped the console. "They fight without fear," one of them said. "No," the leader corrected. "They fight with purpose." Another hit shook the ship. This time, deeper, closer to the core. The leader made a decision. "Retreat," it said. "Silence." "Retreat," one voice repeated. "We cannot win this exchange." But the target is no longer ours. The alien ships began to pull back, one by one, then faster, then all at once. They left. The battle ended as quickly as it had begun. The stars returned to stillness. But this time, the silence was different. The human fleet remained, watching, waiting, protecting. Inside St. Meridian, the alarm slowly stopped. The emergency lights faded back to normal. People stepped out into the hallways, unsure what had just happened. Lena stood frozen in the clinic room. "They're gone," someone said outside. "Who was that?" "I heard a name. Darian something." Lena looked down at her wristpad again, then back at Tomas. He was still sleeping, but now his breathing was strong. Steady, safe. Tears filled Lena's eyes. Not from fear, from release. Hours later, the station had calmed. No more shaking. No more alarms. Just quiet. A quiet that felt new. Lena stepped out of the clinic. She needed air. She needed to think. The hallway was mostly empty now. She walked slowly, her mind still trying to understand everything. Then, a voice behind her. Lena Reyes. She turned quickly. A man stood at the end of the hall. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed simply. But there was something about him. Something heavy. Like he carried the weight of everything around him without effort. Her breath caught. "You," she said. He stepped closer. Calm. Quiet. "Yes," he said. Darian Cole. For a moment, Lena could not speak. This was the man. The one who sent the credits. The one who stopped the attack. The one who changed everything. "Why?" she finally asked. Her voice was not angry. Not afraid. Just real. "Why help me?" Darian looked at her. Not above her. Not past her. At her. Then he answered. Simple. Honest. "Because no one helped me when I sent my last 5. The words hit harder than anything else. Lena felt it in her chest. That quiet truth. That shared moment across time. She swallowed. "I don't know how to repay you." Darian shook his head slightly. This wasn't charity. She frowned. "Then what is it?" He looked toward the clinic room behind her. "An investment." "In what?" "In people who don't give up when things go wrong." Lena was silent. He continued. "There are more like you out there," he said. "On stations like this. Forgotten places. People who just need one chance." She understood now. "You want me to find them?" "Yes." "Why me?" "Because you tried to return 15,000 credits," he said. "That tells me everything I need to know." Lena let out a small breath. It almost sounded like a laugh. "This is crazy." Darian nodded. "It usually is." She looked at him again, then at the hallway, then back at the clinic door. Her old life, her new choice. She made it. "Okay," she said. Darian gave a small nod. "Good." Later, Lena stood by one of the station's observation windows. Below her, St. Meridian drifted quietly. Above her, the stars. But they did not feel distant anymore. They did not feel cold. They felt open, like something waiting. Behind her, footsteps approached. Darian stopped beside her. "The galaxy thinks humans are weak," he said. Lena looked at him. "Are we?" He watched the stars. "No," he said. "They just haven't seen us try." Lena smiled slightly. Out there, beyond the darkness, beyond the fear, something had changed. Not just for her, for everyone. Because somewhere in the vast silence of space, a message had been sent. Not in words, but in action. Humans were not weak. They were just getting started.